Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a Monday morning. It's January 12th, 2026. The world woke up just like any other day, but for 3 million office workers across the globe, the login screen looked different.
Instead of their usual dashboard, there was a simple, polite message. Thank you for your service. Your role has been integrated into the global autonomous network. Please contact HR for your transition package. In a single 24-hour cycle, the Great Anxiety was no longer a theoretical debate in ivory towers. It was a lived reality. This wasn't the clunky AI of 2023 that hallucinated facts or wrote mediocre poetry. This was the generation of agentic AI systems that didn't just suggest, they executed. They managed supply chains, balanced complex corporate ledgers, and coded entire software ecosystems while we slept. For decades, we were told that machines take the blue-collar jobs, but the white-collar jobs are safe. We were wrong. In 2026, the silicon brain has proven it can out-analyze, out-calculate, and outwork the human mind in almost every structured environment. Welcome to FutureWork Stories. I'm your host, and today, we are diving into the heart of the storm. We stand at a crossroads that humanity has never faced before. In previous industrial revolutions, we replaced our muscles with steam and electricity. But today, we are replacing our cognitive functions with algorithms. The question echoing through every coffee shop, every LinkedIn thread, and every silent household is, what is left for us? If an AI can write a legal brief in 6 seconds, why do we need junior associates? If an AI can diagnose a rare disease with 99% accuracy from a single scan, what happens to the radiologist? If an AI can generate a breathtaking cinematic trailer from a single text prompt, where does the digital artist stand? The anxiety we feel isn't just about money, it's about identity. We have spent centuries defining ourselves by what we do for a living. When a machine can do it better, faster, and cheaper, the mirror we look into every morning starts to crack. But to find the solution, we must first understand the nature of the threat. AI in 2026 thrives on certainty, data, and repetition. It is the king of the known world. It looks at the billions of lines of data we have generated over the last century and creates a perfect map of the past to predict a probable future. If your job is to follow a process, no matter how complex, the AI will eventually win. If your value lies in retrieving and organizing information, the clock is ticking. This is the efficiency trap. We have spent years training humans to act like efficient biological computers, and now, we are surprised that actual computers are better at it. However, beneath this layer of fear lies a profound, hidden truth. A truth that the algorithms cannot see because it isn't made of data. It's made of something far more elusive. The humanity gap. As the world becomes more automated, the things that cannot be automated become infinitely more valuable. We are entering the era of the human premium. Think about it. In a world flooded with AI-generated content, how do we know what to trust? In a world where every business decision is optimized by a bot, who takes the moral responsibility when things go wrong? In a world of perfect digital efficiency, why do we still crave the imperfect touch of a handmade craft or the irrational warmth of a human conversation? The 2026 workforce isn't divided between human vs. AI. It is divided between those who try to compete with machines in a race to the bottom, and those who double down on their biological advantages. Over the next hour, we're going to explore the 5 specific territories where AI, no matter how many billions of parameters it has, cannot tread. These are not just soft skills, they are the survival traits of the new era. We will look at the empathy that saves lives, the ethics that guide civilizations, the creative leaps that defy logic, the trust that builds empires, and the intuition that senses what the sensors miss. Take a deep breath. The Great Anxiety is the end of an old way of working, but it is the beginning of a more human way of living. Let's explore the first immortal skill, complex empathy. By 2026, AI has become an expert actor. We have digital companions that can sense our sadness by analyzing the micro tremors in our voice or the slight slump in our shoulders. They respond with perfectly scripted words of comfort. I'm sorry you're feeling this way. How can I help? To a lonely heart, it feels real. But there is a fundamental void at the center of that interaction. The AI doesn't feel sorry. It doesn't have a nervous system that shivers when you cry. It doesn't have a childhood memory of heartbreak to draw upon. It is simply predicting the next most comforting word based on a trillion data points of human literature. This is what we call simulated empathy, and in the world of 2026, it is everywhere. But as it becomes common, its value drops. We are starting to crave the one thing a line of code can never possess: shared biological experience. Complex empathy is not just about being nice. It is the ability to read the unspoken, the subtext of a human soul. Imagine a high-stakes negotiation in a boardroom or a sensitive family mediation. An AI can monitor the heart rates and the words spoken, but it cannot feel the tension in the air. It cannot sense the ancestral trauma that makes a person flinch at a certain phrase. It cannot understand the irrational pride that makes someone reject a perfect logical deal. Humans possess a relational intuition. We don't just process signals. We mirror each other's existence. When you look into the eyes of a mentor who truly understands your struggle, there is a chemical and spiritual exchange happening that no silicon chip can replicate. This is why, despite the rise of AI therapists and AI managers, the leaders who truly connect are seeing their influence skyrocket. Let's look at a real-world scenario from this past year. In a major hospital in Stockholm, they implemented an AI to deliver bad news to patients to save time and ensure accuracy. The AI was polite. It was clear. It was precise. But the patients hated it. Why? Because when you are told your life is changing forever, you don't need accuracy. You need a witness. You need someone whose hand might shake a little as they hold yours. You need someone who understands the weight of mortality because they, too, are mortal. The hospital quickly reverted to human doctors for these moments. They realized that the inefficiency of a human crying with a patient was actually the highest form of value they could provide. In 2026, empathy is the new luxury. So, how do you future-proof this skill? You do it by becoming uncomfortably human. The digital world wants us to be curated, filtered, and efficient. To resist AI, you must be raw, vulnerable, and present. Deep listening, the kind where you aren't just waiting for your turn to speak, but where you are truly absorbing the other person's reality, is becoming a rare and highly paid skill. Whether you are a salesperson, a teacher, or a CEO, your ability to navigate the complex emotional landscapes of others is your superpower. AI can optimize the transaction, but only a human can build the relationship. But empathy alone isn't enough to run a civilization. We also need a compass. We need to know what is right when the data says one thing and our conscience says another. That brings us to our second immortal skill. When the stakes are at their highest, who makes the final call? Next, we explore high-stakes ethical decision-making. In 2026, AI is the king of optimization. It can tell a logistics company how to save 15% on fuel, or an insurance firm how to maximize profits. But AI has no soul. It doesn't understand the concept of doing the right thing if it contradicts the most efficient thing. Imagine a self-driving truck in a split-second crisis. It has to choose between swerving into a crowd of pedestrians or hitting a wall and sacrificing its driver. The AI makes a calculation based on probability, but a human makes a choice based on values, sacrifice, and the weight of a lifetime of moral learning. This is high-stakes ethical decision-making. One of the biggest lessons of 2026 is that AI cannot be held accountable. You cannot put an algorithm in jail. You cannot ask an AI to feel remorse. As businesses and governments become more automated, the person who sits at the top, the one who says, "I take responsibility for this decision," becomes the most vital person in the room. Why? Because society demands a human face behind every consequence. If a project fails or a social policy hurts a community, the data isn't to blame. The human who chose to follow that data is. Being the final arbiter of truth and morality is a skill that will never be outsourced. It requires courage, and courage is a biological trait, not a digital one. Sometimes, the right decision is the illogical one. Think of a CEO who decides to keep a struggling factory open in a small town, even though the AI says it should be closed to increase the stock price. The CEO knows that closing it will destroy the town's spirit for generations. The CEO is playing a long game that involves social capital, legacy, and human dignity, factors that don't always show up on a spreadsheet. In 2026, your value lies in your ability to look at the data and then have the wisdom to ignore it when it violates a human principle. We have the heart to feel and the compass to lead. But there is another human trait that has baffled scientists for centuries: our ability to create something from nothing, to jump from point A to point Z without ever touching the ground. AI creates by looking backward. It analyzes everything that has ever been done and finds the average or the most likely next step. It's a genius at recombining. But humans are geniuses at transcending. Think of the greatest inventions in history. They weren't just the next logical step. They were non-linear leaps. When Steve Jobs combined the beauty of calligraphy with the cold world of computer hardware, there was no data point suggesting that people wanted a beautiful font on a screen. It was an intuitive, creative synthesis of two unrelated worlds. In 2026, AI can paint a picture in the style of Van Gogh, but it could never be Van Gogh. It cannot suffer, it cannot dream, and therefore, it cannot break the rules of art to create a new movement. The future worker isn't just a specialist. They are a synthesizer. Your value lies in your ability to connect dots that are miles apart. If you can take a concept from biology and apply it to financial markets, or take a lesson from ancient Stoic philosophy and use it to design a modern user interface, that is something AI struggles with. AI stays in its training silo. Humans roam the entire universe of experience. True creativity isn't about being original in a vacuum. It's about having a unique human filter that colors everything you see. Your perspective is your greatest asset. AI is programmed to avoid mistakes, but in the world of creativity, mistakes are often the happy accidents that lead to breakthroughs. Post-it notes, penicillin, and even the microwave oven were the results of human errors. Machines don't make mistakes. They only have errors. Humans, however, turn errors into art. In 2026, we value the human imperfection. We value the song that has a slight crack in the singer's voice, the painting with a messy brushstroke, and the business idea that was so crazy it shouldn't have worked but did. Creativity gives us the what, but to make it real, we need who. We need the invisible threads that tie us to one another. By 2026, we're surrounded by perfect connections. AI can find the perfect business partner for you, translate your speech in real time with 0.1 ms latency, and even suggest the best time to send an email based on the recipient's dopamine cycles. But here's the paradox: the more automated our connections become, the more we distrust them. When an AI sends you a personalized message, you feel nothing. Why? Because there was no opportunity cost. The AI didn't spend time thinking about you. It spent a fraction of a cent in electricity. In the world of 2026, trust is the only currency that cannot be inflated by AI. Why do billionaires still fly halfway across the world just for a one-hour dinner? Why do the most important treaties still require a physical pen and a shared room? Because humans are biological social animals. We evolved for millions of years to detect subtle cues: the dilation of a pupil, the warmth of a palm, the micro-hesitation in a voice. These cues tell us, is this person safe? Do they have skin in the game? Will they stand by me when the data looks bad? AI can simulate the output of a relationship, but it cannot simulate the risk. Trust is built on the shared knowledge that both parties have something to lose. AI has nothing to lose. Therefore, AI can be reliable, but it can never be trustworthy in the human sense. In the future work era, your network is no longer just a list of contacts on a screen. It is your human fortress. The most successful people in 2026 are not the best coders or the best analysts. They are the connectors. They are the people who can walk into a room of strangers, bridge the gap between different cultures, and build a coalition of humans toward a common goal. They understand political intelligence. They know how to navigate the egos, the fears, and the hidden agendas that run every major organization. AI sees the organizational chart. The human sees the soul of the organization. To master this skill, you must stop being efficient and start being present. Efficiency is for machines. Relationships are purposefully inefficient. They require long conversations that go nowhere, shared meals, and the willingness to help someone with no immediate ROI. In 2026, if you want to be irreplaceable, be the person people want to work with. Be the person whose word is a contract. Be the person who remembers the name of a colleague's child. In a world of cold algorithms, a warm, reliable human presence is a magnet for opportunity. We have explored the heart, the mind, the soul, and the hand, but there is one final, almost mystical skill left. It is the skill that allows a captain to sense a storm before the radar sees it. It is the silent whisper of experience that says, wait, something isn't right. Let's conclude with the ultimate human edge: contextual nuance and intuition. In 2026, AI is the master of signals, but humans are the masters of context. An AI can monitor a nuclear power plant and see that every dial is in the green. But a senior engineer, walking past a cooling pipe, hears a pitch, a sound so subtle it doesn't register on any sensor, and knows that something is about to fail. This is intuition. It isn't magic. It is the result of millions of years of biological evolution combined with decades of subconscious pattern recognition. It's the ability to see the space between the data. AI operates in a closed system. It only knows what it has been fed. But the real world is an open system. It is messy, unpredictable, and full of black swan events. Intuition is our internal radar for the unknown. In a crisis, the data often lags behind reality. In those moments, we don't need a faster processor. We need a human who can feel the right direction. We have traveled through the landscape of 2026, from the great anxiety to the realization of our own immortal skills. If there is one thing I want you to take away from this hour, it is this: you are not a biological computer. Stop trying to compete with AI on its home turf. You will never be faster than a fiber optic cable. You will never have more memory than a server farm. The goal of the future isn't to beat the machine. It's to dance with it. Use AI to handle the mundane, the repetitive, and the data-heavy. Let it be your research assistant, your calculator, and your librarian. But never, ever let it be your heart, your conscience, or your creative spark. The world of future work is not a dystopia of human obsolescence. It is an invitation to a human renaissance. It is a call to return to the things that truly matter: deep empathy, ethical courage, radical creativity, unbreakable trust, and that mysterious, silent intuition. As you close this video and step back into your world, whether you are an entrepreneur, a student, or a professional reinventing yourself, ask yourself one question: what is the most human thing I can do today? Do that, and you will not just survive 2026, you will lead it. Thank you for spending this hour with us at FutureWork Stories. If this journey has given you clarity or hope, please share it with someone who might be feeling the great anxiety. Subscribe to join our global community of humans who refuse to be defined by algorithms. My name is your channel voice name, and remember, the future is not something that happens to you. It's something you create.